What if the deepest doubts that creep in when the world goes quiet, about who you are, what reality is, and why you exist, were already solved thousands of years ago, encoded in a philosophical framework so precise that it predicts discoveries we're only now making in quantum laboratories and neuroscience research centers? I want you to imagine something with me. Picture a conversation between an ancient Egyptian philosopher and a modern quantum physicist. The philosopher speaks of universal principles that govern all existence, mind as the foundation of reality, patterns that repeat across infinite scales, everything in perpetual vibration. The physicist responds with equations describing observer effects, fractal geometries, and wave-particle duality. As their dialogue unfolds, something extraordinary becomes apparent. They're describing the same universe, using different languages to articulate identical insights. This isn't coincidence, it's recognition. The Seven Hermetic Principles, attributed to the legendary figure Hermes Trismegistus, represent one of humanity's most sophisticated attempts to map the deep architecture of existence. But these aren't dusty philosophical abstractions. They're operational guidelines for understanding how reality actually works. Principles that modern science is rediscovering through radically different methodologies, yet arriving at remarkably similar conclusions. Today, we're going to dive into how these ancient insights connect with the latest discoveries, and maybe even reveal that the deepest truths about existence go beyond the usual line we draw between science and wisdom. And you'll discover why this isn't just theory. It's a roadmap you can use to transform how you experience your own life. Here's a thought that might blow your circuits. What if the entire universe is essentially one massive conscious mind dreaming itself into existence? Before you dismiss this as New Age nonsense, consider this. When you dream at night, your mind creates entire worlds, complete with landscapes, people, emotions, and sensations that feel completely real. You wake up and realize it was just a dream, but while you were in it, that reality was as valid as anything you've ever experienced. The ancient Hermeticists suggested something radical. Our waking reality operates on the same principle, just at a scale so vast, we mistake the dream for solid, unchangeable truth. Now fast forward to cutting-edge neuroscience labs where researchers are discovering something extraordinary. Dr. Christoph Koch, one of the world's leading consciousness researchers, is suggesting that consciousness might not emerge from complex brain activity. It might be the fundamental fabric from which everything else, including brains, emerges. Your consciousness isn't produced by your brain. Your brain might be more like a radio tuning into consciousness that already exists everywhere. This isn't just philosophical speculation anymore. When quantum physicists peer into the deepest levels of reality, they find something unsettling. Particles don't seem to exist in definite states until someone observes them. It's as if the act of conscious observation literally creates physical reality. Legendary physicist John Wheeler, who coined the term black hole, proposed something even more radical with his it from bit hypothesis. He suggested that all physical entities are information theoretic in origin, that reality emerges from yes or no answers to questions posed by observation. In Wheeler's view, we live in a participatory universe, where consciousness doesn't just observe reality, it helps create it through the very act of asking questions. Elon Musk famously said, "The odds we're living in base reality are billions to one." If we're in a simulation, then everything you consider solid matter is really just information, patterns of data creating the illusion of physical substance. Sound familiar? That's exactly what those ancient texts claimed thousands of years ago. If reality is fundamentally mental, then your thoughts aren't just passive reflections of an external world. They're active ingredients in creating your experience. Every morning when you wake up, you're not just opening your eyes to a pre-existing world. You're tuning into a reality that's being continuously created through the interaction of consciousness with infinite possibility. So how do you actually use this cosmic principle? Practice conscious observation. Try this. For the next week, catch yourself at least 3 times a day and ask, what am I choosing to focus on right now? Remember, if consciousness helps create reality through observation, then what you consistently observe and think about literally shapes your experience. When you notice yourself dwelling on problems, consciously redirect your attention to possibilities. Grab your phone and look up 2 images, a photo of neurons in a human brain and a photo of the cosmic web, the large-scale structure of the universe. Or better yet, let me show you. Stunning, isn't it? The network of neurons firing in your skull right now looks almost identical to the network of dark matter connecting galaxies across billions of light years. This isn't coincidence. It's correspondence. The recognition that the universe has a preferred architecture, a cosmic grammar that writes itself at every level of existence. Your lungs branch like trees. Trees branch like river deltas. River deltas branch like blood vessels. Blood vessels branch like lightning. Lightning branches like cracks in broken glass. The mathematics are identical. The spiral of a nautilus shell follows the same golden ratio that governs the spiral arms of galaxies, the arrangement of seeds in a sunflower, and the proportions of your own body. There's literally a universal mathematical language being spoken at every scale. Modern chaos theory has given us tools to understand how this works. Complex systems naturally evolve toward patterns that repeat at different scales, what mathematicians call strange attractors. The turbulence in your coffee cup follows the same principles as the weather patterns swirling around Jupiter. The patterns playing out in your inner world mirror the patterns in the larger world around you. Your personal struggles with balance, growth, and transformation aren't isolated events. They're expressions of universal principles. When you're working through emotional turbulence, you're participating in the same dynamic that creates storms in the atmosphere and instabilities in financial markets. Your healing journey follows the same principles as ecological restoration and stellar evolution. Once you recognize these patterns, you can start working with them, and that's where practical change begins. Start by noticing the patterns that keep repeating, whether in habits, emotions, or choices. Instead of treating them as problems, look at them as teachers pointing to the structure of your own inner world. Pay attention to your natural rhythms. Just like the tides and the seasons, your energy and creativity rise and fall. When you see these cycles clearly, you can move with them instead of burning out by pushing against them. Nature is the best guide here. Watch how trees grow, how rivers change course, how storms eventually pass. Ask yourself where the same processes are playing out inside you. The more you see the correspondence, the easier it becomes to navigate your own challenges. And remember, you don't need massive changes to shift a pattern. Adjust one small thing, your reaction, your daily habit, even your perspective, and the whole structure around it will begin to reorganize. As above, so below. The changes you create within ripple outward, reshaping the larger world around you. Close your eyes. Feel your heartbeat. Notice your breath flowing in and out. That's not just biology. That's you synchronizing with the fundamental rhythm of existence itself. The ancient Hermeticists understood something our scientific instruments are now measuring with precision. The universe is fundamentally vibrational. Everything, from subatomic particles to galaxies, is energy in motion, vibrating at specific frequencies. What appears solid is just energy vibrating slowly. What appears as pure energy is matter vibrating rapidly. What you experience as thoughts and emotions, those are consciousness vibrating at specific frequencies. Modern physics confirms this ancient insight. At the quantum level, everything is in constant motion. With tools like electron microscopes, we can literally see atoms vibrating in place, proving that motion and energy are built into the fabric of matter itself. And string theory pushes it further, suggesting that the most fundamental constituents of reality are tiny vibrating strings. Different vibrational modes create different particles, like different notes on a cosmic guitar. In this view, the universe is literally a symphony, with every particle playing its part in an infinite musical composition. But here's where it becomes immediately practical for your life. Your consciousness operates vibrationally too. Your brain generates electrical oscillations, brainwaves, that sync across different regions during various mental states. Deep focus happens around 40 Hz. Relaxed awareness around 10 Hz. These aren't just byproducts of consciousness. They might actually be what consciousness is. Your emotions operate vibrationally as well. The Institute of Heart Math has documented how different emotional states create distinct patterns in heart rate variability. Gratitude, love, and compassion generate smooth, coherent wave patterns. Stress and anxiety create chaotic, incoherent frequencies. And here's the kicker. These patterns don't stay contained in your body. They radiate into your environment, influencing the people and situations around you. This explains why certain environments, people, or experiences feel energizing while others feel draining. You're constantly navigating a landscape of vibrational frequencies, and your consciousness naturally seeks resonance with patterns that support your highest expression. When you consciously raise your vibrational frequency through practices like gratitude, meditation, or creative expression, you're not engaging in wishful thinking. You're working with the fundamental mechanics of how consciousness interfaces with physical reality. You're literally tuning yourself to receive different stations on the cosmic radio. Here's a question that might seem paradoxical. What if your greatest strengths and your most challenging weaknesses are actually the same quality, expressed at different intensities or in different contexts? What if the things you most love about yourself and the things you most struggle with are inseparable aspects of your essential nature? The principle of polarity suggests that opposites aren't enemies. They're complementary aspects of the same phenomenon, like two sides of a coin that give the coin its essential nature. This isn't just philosophical poetry. It's a description of how reality organizes itself at the most fundamental levels. The ancient Hermeticists understood that polarity isn't about conflict between opposing forces, but about the dynamic tension within a single unity. Hot and cold aren't separate phenomena. They're different degrees of temperature. In the same way, love and hate aren't true opposites, but different expressions of deep emotional investment. Indifference, not hate, is the genuine opposite of love. Modern physics confirms this at every level. Every particle has its antiparticle. The structure of atoms depends on the tension between positively charged protons and negatively charged electrons. Even empty space pulses with particle-antiparticle pairs constantly appearing and disappearing. The universe's large-scale structure emerges from the interplay between dark matter trying to pull everything together and dark energy pushing everything apart. Creation literally happens in the space between opposites. Your brain works the same way. Consciousness emerges from the constant interplay of opposing processes, excitation and inhibition, sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system activation, analytical left brain and intuitive right brain processing. Carl Jung discovered this principle at the heart of psychological development. He called the shadow the aspects of ourselves we repress or deny, not something to eliminate, but a necessary counterpart to our conscious identity. Integration of these polar opposites within the psyche leads to wholeness. Consider your own experience of polarity. Your capacity for joy isn't separate from your capacity for sorrow. They rise together, like twin flames of the same fire. The courage to open your heart and be vulnerable is inseparable from the strength to set firm boundaries. Even your loneliest moments of solitude are the soil from which your deepest, most authentic connections grow. The principle of polarity shows us that trying to erase one side of any duality is not only impossible, but harmful. Stress and relaxation, structure and spontaneity, certainty and mystery, they aren't battles to be won, but partners in a dance. When you stop resisting and instead move with the rhythm of opposites, you discover a hidden reservoir of creative energy. This shift changes everything. Instead of suppressing so-called negative emotions, you learn to work with their energy. Instead of chasing perfect harmony, you discover the power of productive tension. Instead of forcing contradictions to disappear, you begin to inhabit paradox, and in doing so, you unlock a richer, more nuanced way of being. Your heart beats roughly 100,000 times a day. Your brain waves cycle through predictable patterns every 90 minutes. Your body temperature rises and falls in 24-hour cycles. Your hormones surge and recede monthly and seasonally. You are a walking symphony of rhythms, dancing in perfect synchronization with the cosmic pulse that keeps everything flowing from galaxies to quantum fields. The ancient Hermeticists observed that rhythm is the universal constant. The one thing you can count on is that everything changes in cyclical patterns. Day follows night, seasons rotate, tides ebb and flow, civilizations rise and fall. Modern science has confirmed this ancient insight in remarkable detail. Chronobiology shows that life itself is rhythmically organized. Even your cells divide according to rhythmic patterns that mirror planetary movements. But rhythm extends far beyond biology. Pulsars, rapidly spinning neutron stars, act like cosmic metronomes, keeping precise time across vast distances. The cosmic microwave background radiation shows wave-like patterns from the early universe, suggesting even the Big Bang was rhythmic. At the quantum level, particles oscillate between probable states. Energy fields fluctuate in wave-like patterns. Even the vacuum of space pulses with zero-point oscillations. The universe literally hums with a rhythm that never stops. Here's where understanding rhythm becomes a superpower for your personal life. Instead of expecting continuous growth or permanent happiness, you can align with the natural rhythms of expansion and contraction, effort and rest, engagement and reflection. When you're in a natural downturn, whether in energy, mood, or circumstances, fighting against it is like trying to stop the tide. But when you learn to surf the waves of change, you can use the rhythm itself as a source of power and momentum. This principle reveals why forcing outcomes often backfires, and why small, consistent actions create profound transformations over time. Every low point contains the seed of the next upswing. Every period of difficulty naturally gives way to growth and expansion, if you don't resist the natural flow. Most practically, you can optimize your life by working with your natural rhythms instead of against them. Schedule demanding tasks during high-energy periods. Use low-energy times for rest, reflection, and inner work. Align your goals with seasonal and monthly cycles. When you harmonize with rhythm rather than fighting it, life becomes less of a struggle and more of a dance. Let me share something that might change how you think about causation. In quantum mechanics, the act of measurement doesn't just reveal pre-existing properties of particles. It actually influences those properties. The observer and the observed are locked in a dance of mutual influence, where consciousness and physical reality shape each other in real time. This observer effect suggests that causation isn't a simple linear process of A causing B, but a complex web of mutual co-creation. Chaos theory has revealed that causation in complex systems is far more intricate than our everyday intuitions suggest. Tiny changes can cascade into enormous effects. The famous butterfly effect, where a butterfly flapping its wings in Brazil could theoretically trigger a tornado in Texas. But it works in reverse too. Massive systems can be surprisingly stable despite significant perturbations. The relationship between cause and effect is non-linear, context-dependent, and often counterintuitive. Network science shows us that we live in a world of feedback loops and emergent properties, where effects become causes, where the whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts, and where influence flows through complex webs of interconnection. Your thoughts influence your emotions, which influence your actions, which influence your environment, which influences the thoughts and emotions of others, which circle back to influence your own mental state in an endless dance of mutual causation. This principle has profound implications for personal responsibility and agency. What you focus on literally rewires your brain, which changes what you perceive, which affects what you focus on next. Epigenetics shows that even your genes respond to environmental causes. Stress, diet, social connection, and mental states can turn genes on or off, creating effects that last for generations. You're not just inheriting your ancestors' DNA. You're inheriting the effects of their life experiences. This principle reveals something profound about personal power. You're never powerless. Even in difficult circumstances, you always have the power to choose your response, and that response becomes a new cause in the chain. Viktor Frankl demonstrated this under the most extreme circumstances, showing that even in concentration camps, people could choose their inner response and thereby maintain their essential freedom. Understanding cause and effect empowers you to become a conscious creator rather than a passive victim. Every choice you make is a cause set in motion. Every thought you think is a seed planted in the field of consciousness. Every emotion you feel influences the people and situations around you. The key insight? You're always both effect and cause, shaped by previous conditions but simultaneously creating new conditions through your present choices. When you take responsibility for your role as cause, you reclaim your power to influence your experience as effect. Before we explore this final principle, I want to acknowledge that the language of masculine and feminine carries loaded cultural associations. But the Hermetic understanding of gender transcends human sexual characteristics entirely. It's about the fundamental creative polarity that drives all manifestation. The dynamic interplay between receptive and active principles that generates everything from atoms to galaxies. Think of it as the universe's ultimate creative partnership. The masculine principle represents focused consciousness, the power that directs, penetrates, initiates, and structures. The feminine principle represents receptive awareness, the power that receives, nurtures, incubates, and births into form. Like the positive and negative terminals of a battery, neither is complete without the other. Their interaction creates the spark that powers all manifestation. Modern physics reveals this creative duality everywhere. Consider electromagnetic phenomena. Electric fields create action and movement. They push and pull charges, generate currents, create motion. Magnetic fields create structure and containment. They organize space, maintain patterns, provide stability. Neither can exist without the other. Together, they create electromagnetic waves, the fundamental force that carries light, information, and the energy that powers stars. Even the genetic code depends on complementary base pairs coming together to encode all biological information. In neuroscience, we find similar complementary principles. Different brain networks tend toward either focused, analytical processing or open, associative processing. Peak performance and creativity emerge when these networks can work together fluidly, when you can focus intensely when needed and relax into broad awareness when appropriate. Psychologically, Jung explored this through his concepts of anima and animus, the idea that psychological wholeness requires integrating both receptive and assertive qualities, regardless of biological gender. Contemporary research confirms that people who can flexibly access both traditionally masculine traits, independence, competitiveness, analytical thinking, and traditionally feminine traits, collaboration, emotional intelligence, intuitive understanding, tend to be more successful and fulfilled across multiple domains of life. Every successful creation requires both masculine initiation and feminine receptivity. You need the masculine capacity to set clear intentions, make decisions, and take focused action, combined with the feminine capacity to be open to opportunities, trust the process, and allow outcomes to unfold. In creative work, this reveals why forced effort often fails while relaxed focus succeeds. You need masculine drive to start projects and push through obstacles, but you also need feminine ability to receive inspiration, trust intuition, and let ideas flow without forcing them. Most practically, you can use this principle to diagnose what's missing in any area of your life. Feeling stuck and stagnant? You might need more masculine energy, clearer goals, stronger boundaries, more decisive action. Feeling burned out and forcing outcomes? You might need more feminine energy, more rest, trust, receptivity, and allowing. The deepest teaching? Your highest creative power emerges when you consciously harmonize both energies within yourself, becoming what the ancients called the divine hermaphrodite, a being who has integrated the fundamental creative forces of the universe. As we step back and examine all 7 principles together, an extraordinary pattern emerges. Each principle describes a different aspect of how intelligence organizes itself into experienced reality. Mind provides the fundamental substrate of awareness. Correspondence creates recursive patterns across scales. Vibration generates dynamic flow and change. Polarity creates differentiation and complexity. Rhythm provides temporal organization and cyclical renewal. Causation weaves everything into interconnected networks of influence. Gender drives the creative processes that generate novelty and evolution. This isn't just ancient philosophy. It's a sophisticated model of reality that anticipates many insights of modern complexity science, information theory, and consciousness research. The Hermetic Principles describe what we might call the operating system of existence, the fundamental algorithms that govern how creative intelligence processes itself into the infinite variety of forms and experiences we call reality. Contemporary researchers are exploring similar ideas through frameworks like integrated information theory, which suggests that consciousness might be understood as a measure of how much information a system integrates. Digital physics proposes that reality might be fundamentally computational. The study of emergence reveals how simple rules operating at micro scales can generate complex, unpredictable behaviors at macro scales. What makes the Hermetic Principles particularly valuable is that they bridge the gap between intellectual understanding and lived wisdom. They provide a framework for navigating existence that honors both scientific rigor and subjective experience, both analytical precision and intuitive knowing. So here we are. You've just downloaded the cosmic operating system that ancient mystics spent lifetimes contemplating and modern scientists are rediscovering through billion-dollar experiments. But here's the real question. What will you do with this knowledge? These 7 principles aren't abstract philosophy. They're practical tools for conscious living in a conscious cosmos. They reveal that you have far more power than you've been taught to believe, and far more responsibility than you might be comfortable accepting. They show you that the boundaries between inner and outer, subjective and objective, personal and universal are far more fluid than conventional wisdom suggests. You are not a separate observer of reality. You are reality observing itself through your unique perspective. Every thought you think, every choice you make, every moment of awareness you experience is the universe coming to know itself more fully through the instrument of your consciousness. As you close your eyes tonight and feel your heartbeat synchronizing with cosmic rhythms, as you sense your thoughts arising from the infinite field of consciousness, as you recognize your life as a unique expression of universal principles, remember something profound. You are both student and teacher, wave and ocean, effect and cause in the greatest story ever told. The ancient code of reality isn't hidden in dusty books. It's written in your DNA, the rhythm of your breath, the electrical dance of your neurons, the creative tension between your dreams and your actions. You don't need to believe in the Hermetic principles. You can simply observe them operating in and through your own experience. The greatest discovery of our time may be that consciousness isn't something that emerged from matter, but something from which matter emerges. And if that's true, then you, as a conscious being, are not a cosmic accident, but a cosmic necessity. You are the universe's way of experiencing itself subjectively, of knowing itself intimately, of creating itself consciously.